Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. Welcome to Extra Crispy. So I love Carmelo Anthony. I have nothing against the guy, but there is one thing about him that really pissed me off, man. It's back in the days with Linsanity that he straight up just destroyed him, man. So for today's video, we react to a video by Young Mustard, link to his channel in the description below, titled How Carmelo Anthony Ruined Linsanity. If you were alive around that time or watching basketball, you knew that Linsanity for like 2 weeks was taking the NBA by storm, but you just kind of knew once Carmelo was back, yeah, Linsanity was just over with. It was just over with, guys. So let's get into this video, see what it's all about, just in case you guys don't know about it, or just reminiscing on old bitch-ass times.
In 2012, the New York Knicks started off the season horrendous, and then Carmelo Anthony went down with an injury, and all hope was lost of them becoming a playoff team for the remainder of the season. But in the game before Carmelo Anthony went down, Jeremy Lin was playing really well in the first half. And if you don't know,
the dude was
at that
unstoppable.
point, Jeremy Lin had not played a single game throughout that season for more than 20 minutes. And because of Carmelo Anthony's input in the huddle, Jeremy Lin was put in for the rest of the game in the second half.
He was sleeping on his friend's couch.
25 points,
come up story of the century.
Rebounds and 2 steals, shooting 53% from the field and 71% from the free throw line. And then from that moment forward, Linsanity was born, because after starting off the season 8-15, here comes this little Asian kid from Harvard, and he starts schooling everybody on the court. As in the next 10 games, they went 8-2, and Jeremy Lin put up numbers of 25 points a game.
I still remember when he was on the Lakers, and like he took like a clutch shot, and Kobe wanted him to pass him the ball, because of course Kobe wanted him to do that, right, man? But he took the shot. And I thought he missed. I thought Kobe Bryant was just gonna freaking destroy this man, but he made it. It was crazy.
9 assists and 2 steals.
It was crazy.
Shooting 50% from the field, 35% from 3, and 72% from the free throw line. And it got national attention, as a lot of people thought that this was the beginning.
Yeah, then he got that weird ass mohawk and fell off.
Or so
sadly.
A lot of them thought, because during that time period that Jeremy Lin was putting up great numbers, there was a man in the name of Carmelo Anthony. And if you know anything about Carmelo Anthony, you know that the spotlight starts and ends with him, as many people have spoken about in recent history, which we will get into. But Carmelo Anthony saw what Jeremy Lin was doing, and he decided to put an end to it.
He got jealous.
It even got started. But before I go any further with this video, guys,
I'm sorry, I love Carmelo, but I mean, he's had ego issues with other players in the past too. There was no way he was gonna give the Knicks to Linsanity. Like, he was like, no man, this shit ain't gonna happen, bro.
Do not forget to drop a like so I can keep making fire content just like this. Let's try to shoot for 1,000 likes.
But look at the jump shot, textbook.
Hella low views as of late. That's why I'm doing voiceovers now, because people were complaining about the face cam videos. So I like to keep my subscribers.
Yo, I used to always get roasted for face cam.
But let's get back to this video as we talk about how
people used to think I was black, apparently.
Ruined Jeremy Lin's career.
And then I sound like E40. They were so surprised when they saw this face.
Coming off of a season in 2011 where they had traded for Carmelo Anthony to pair with Amari Stoudemire before his contract expired, so they decided to trade essentially their entire roster of players that included players like Danilo Gallinari,
Gallo was supposed to be a superstar,
and Wilson Chandler. So I think it's safe to say that the expectations for the New York Knicks were to be a relatively competitive team in the Eastern Conference.
Yo, Pablo
Prigoni started off the
old
season,
ass.
It didn't look like those things were going to happen, as they started off terrible, finishing with an 8-15 record before Jeremy Lin.
Wait, you got freaking Jason Smith in there. I think that's it. That's gotta be. That's not Jason. Yeah, that's Jason Smith, number 14. I don't know, some tall white dude. I'm pretty sure it's Jason Smith. I mean, it's like, what do you expect Carmelo Anthony to do? You know,
even started.
What do you expect the man to do?
Obvious to everybody.
Look at that trash ass lineup out there.
Knicks, even though they traded for Melo, they had nothing to surround Melo with, and that's why the emergence of Jeremy Lin was very key to getting Carmelo Anthony and the New York Knicks back to prominence in the NBA. And with the coach being Mike D'Antoni, it became very obvious that he was trying to
looked like the Pringle guy so much.
The one that he had with the Phoenix
Too
Suns.
much, actually.
But looking back at what happened in New York, it became a travesty how Carmelo Anthony treated Jeremy Lin, and also even the coach of Mike D'Antoni. Because say what you want about Mike D'Antoni, I know that Mike D'Antoni is not the perfect coach. I know he has his flaws.
I've always liked him personally.
He has failed numerous times with great rosters, whether in Phoenix or in Houston, but the guy still has produced results in the regular season. And that's all the Knicks wanted at that time. The Knicks were a losing organization for years.
Yeah, give us the playoffs.
When they got Carmelo Anthony, they barely made it into the playoffs, and they cleared out their entire roster for him.
The worst thing about that, too, is that they literally could have just waited till free agency. Because I'm pretty sure Melo was, like, linked to wanting to go to New York anyway. So they could have had, like, Gallo and Wilson Chandler, who was extremely young at the time, you know, playing with Carmelo Anthony.
But when Jeremy Lin started playing well in February,
bad
he put up
investment.
numbers that were damn near godlike for a couple of weeks, and the Knicks were actually getting W's, you would think that Carmelo Anthony, after he came back from his injury, that he would conform to the system that was actually getting them wins, unlike the system that wasn't working.
Man said he is the
isolation
system.
Plays where he does jab steps for 50 seconds and then puts up a post fadeaway. But no, because that's not who Carmelo Anthony is. Him play off ball, him be a spot up shooter, him actually try on defense, that's beneath Carmelo Anthony. That's not what he's about, because Carmelo Anthony's all about having the spotlight on him. We all know this, we all knew it in Denver, and he proved it once again in New York. And for all those people out there that are saying, we don't know what happened, you weren't in the locker room, don't believe everything you read, all of you that still did.
I mean, we can, you know, you can pretty much tell just based off the OKC Thunder days and even Houston Rockets for the select few games. Yeah, Melo just, he's not a role player. Now, I will give him props. He's been pretty good for the Portland Trail Blazers. Still has some of the ball stopping tendencies and stuff like that. But, I mean, he's been better. But then again, the Portland Trail Blazers were kind of desperate for depth anyway, so it works. But at the same time, Portland's not playing all that great when the NBA season was going on.
And
so
rumors that Carmelo was
I don't
jealous
know.
of Jeremy Lin, you can fuck off, because there have been multiple people that were in that locker room that actually stated, or at least insinuated, that Carmelo Anthony had jealousies of Jeremy Lin taking the spotlight, such as Amari Stoudemire and Mike D'Antoni. Carmelo
I could totally
Anthony
see
even
it.
went as far as to state that it was ridiculous the amount of money that the Houston Rockets gave Jeremy Lin after the Knicks failed to match the offer.
Wow.
You already messed up his little come up in New York, and now you're trying to throw shade on him for getting the bag? You're the same guy who stayed in New York because you were offered a bigger bag and you didn't want to go team up with Derrick Rose and an up-and-coming Jimmy Butler in Chicago.
Or the Miami
so as far
Heat.
as I'm concerned, that situation just exposes the hypocrisy of Carmelo Anthony. Hell, you could just look at what George Karl said in his book when he talked about Carmelo Anthony. These are his words.
How much Houston give
Carmelo
Jeremy?
was a true conundrum for me in the 6 years that I had him. He was the best offensive player I ever coached, and he was a user of people, addicted to the spotlight and very unhappy when he had to share it. He really lit my fuse with his low demand of himself on defense. He had no...
Hey, every era has them. Every era has those type of guys straight up. It's like, you know, we're all going to remember Carmelo Anthony is one of the greatest scorers of all time. But at what cost? I mean, for him, you know, he's a multi-millionaire and stuff like that, but he's never going to win a ring. He's never going to win a ring. It's just not going to happen, unfortunately, for him.
No commitment.
He chose,
to the
you know, his
hard, dirty
lifestyle,
work
right?
Of stopping the other guy. Keep in mind that that was his coach for 6 years. And for people that are saying, hey, he could just be mad at how Carmelo Anthony left Denver and forced them to basically trade him to the Knicks, then look no further than what Chauncey Billups stated when he was
we got the goat
about why
talking.
Carmelo Anthony didn't have a job in the NBA at the time, because a lot of people were saying he was quote-unquote blackballed.
The goal of leadership.
It meant too much to Melo. It meant too much. He could have games where he had 20-22, we win the game, and he's mad. He might
Hate
have
people like that.
36, and he's in there, you know, we lose the game, and he's in there picking everybody up. Scoring 30 meant too much.
I'm not even gonna focus on what George Karl said specifically. I'm gonna talk about what Chauncey Billups said, because I think that applies more to what we're talking about as it pertains to Jeremy Lin. This is a guy that literally could score 30 points and lose and be happy, but yet will score anything less than that and be mad, even though they got a...
I mean, really, like, the thing that got me mad about Carmelo was when he did the press conference. I think it was for OKC, and they were talking about him coming off the bench, and he just started laughing. He's like, me come off the bench? It's like, yeah, man, you come off the bench, bro. You old now, man.
And I think that perfectly
And your style of play don't work.
to how he treated Jeremy Lin.
I do like Melo,
Even
guys.
though Jeremy Lin was getting W's,
Just not a winner.
Carmelo Anthony could not handle it because his ego was not given enough credit for them getting those W's in the first place. He wants to win, but he wants to win his way. We not only saw it in Denver or in New York, but we even saw it in Oklahoma City and in Houston. Whether it was poor efforts on the defensive side of the ball, passing up three-point shots for mid-range jumpers, or even claiming that he was not going to come off of the bench, even though it was very obvious that he was past his better days and he needed to do that to extend his career. Now look at him. We don't even know if he's going to have a job next season, and honestly, I wouldn't be feeling feeling bad for him if he doesn't. And for all the people out there that don't understand how this severely impacted the New York Knicks and Jeremy Lin's career as a whole, let's just take a look at the next 10 games for the New York Knicks when Carmelo Anthony came back.
Here we go.
10 games,
Here we
they
go.
went 7-3, and Carmelo Anthony
2-8.
shot 40% from the field and below 35% from 3 and only averaged 19 points. Keep in mind that they also went on an 8-game losing streak, and it essentially led to Mike D'Antoni resigning from the New York Knicks because he wasn't going to put up with Carmelo Anthony's bullshit for much longer. Meanwhile, when you look at how it affected Jeremy Lin, this is a guy that bounced from team to team, went to Houston for a while, the Lakers, the Hornets, the Hawks, and
yeah, Jeremy Lin, kind of a weird career. I mean, he had like the whole Linsanity thing going on. I feel like all these teams maybe thought they could have got that out of him. He was still like a good point guard. I mean, he wasn't great, but he wasn't bad either. He never really found a home though. And the haircut just got weirder and weirder.
Honestly, he just never really fit anywhere, and now he's currently playing overseas in China, and he cried about not getting a job, and people tried to make fun of him, which I honestly don't even get how that's funny. And I always wonder just how good Jeremy Lin would have been had he stayed in New York and had Mike D'Antoni as his head coach, and he had a system that was actually tailor-made for his play style.
I do think he would have been like a consistent 20-7 guy. I think to say like, you know, like the 25 points and 9 assists, whatever it was, 5 rebounds, a little bit on the high end. I think it would kind of like correct itself over time. Definitely like a 20-7 type of player. I don't think there's any reason why he couldn't have been that, at least for like a year or two, maybe not for a longevity type of thing, but yeah.
For example, you could look at a guy like Steve Nash, and I know the situations are a little different, as Steve Nash was a guy that was good before he even got to Phoenix, making a few All-NBA teams and All-Star appearances, but if we're really being honest, he would not have been a Hall of Famer had he not ran into Mike D'Antoni in his early 30s. It's very ironic
that system
that he
was
just so happened to peak around
the
that
7-second
time
offense was
when
new
he met
stuff.
a coach that could inflate his assist numbers. And I'm not blaming Steve Nash. He's one of the greatest players of all time and a top 10 point guard in NBA history and one of the most efficient players to ever touch a basketball. He's a great player in his own right, but what his career shows is that not every single player can live up to their true potential if they don't have the right coach and the right system to be able to develop them. And I think that same philosophy applies to that of Jeremy Lin. This is a guy that came out of Harvard, undrafted, went to the Warriors, ended up getting cut from there, went to the D-League for a while, and eventually found his way in New York and found a coach that helped him play at the highest level, and he dominated the NBA for a couple of weeks and became a national phenomenon in ways that we had not seen and still have not seen.
I love his
to
jump
this
shot,
day
man.
in NBA history.
Such
but
a good
I guess
form.
that Carmelo Anthony just couldn't take it and didn't want to change his game to help a guy like Jeremy Lin lead the New York Knicks into W's. Because if Carmelo Anthony wasn't the reason that a team was winning, then he never was going to be satisfied with the final outcome. And it's kind of sad, really, because Carmelo Anthony underachieved immensely in his career. Because I find it ironic that all of his little draft buddies on the banana boat, other than Chris Paul, got chipped up when they teamed up in Miami because they were willing to sacrifice not just money, but also their numbers and play style. And
that's true. I mean, I will say straight up though, like if you have that like type of like God-given talent, it is tough to set your ego aside, I would say. I mean, I heard Dwayne Wade even had issues, taking the backseat to LeBron James. So while he did, man up and do it for the betterment of the team and stuff, I could see that being a very difficult thing to do.
Change up things in their game in order to win championships, because no matter what, as great as a career that Carmelo Anthony had, he could have been better and he could have done more had he been able to sacrifice, but I guess that's just not in his dictionary, and he showed that to the fullest extent with how he killed Linsanity.
Y'all noticed too, the other day when I did the reaction to the ESPN top 74 players, Melo was not on the list, guys. Melo was not on that list. A lot of people were upset about that. But yeah, guys, it is the end of the video right here. I do think on my main channel, Crispy Flakes, I'm gonna do a Linsanity rebuild, and I'm gonna trade our Carmelo Anthony to see what would have happened. That'd be kind of interesting. If you guys want to see that, man, go check out my main channel, Crispy Flakes. Thank y'all so much for watching. Go check out Young Mustard, and peace out, my friends.